Hello and welcome to our Cisco Solutions Lab today. We're very excited to have you here. A lot of content to jump through. I'm Aaron. I work in our Cisco team here at D&H, and I'm thrilled to guide you through the latest innovations in Cisco's Wi-Fi 7 portfolio. Today, we're going to explore how Cisco is simplifying wireless deployments, empowering network security, and enabling smart space capabilities. Joining me are Mark Jacobs from Cisco. Hey, Mark, always good to see you. He will cover some deployment and onboarding, and then we have Skylar O'Donnell. He's on my team here at D&H with Cisco Pro for sure, and he'll dive into security and smart environments. A bit of housekeeping before we really dig in. You'll see some Q&A, see a Q&A box on your screen. Feel free to ask any questions there. We'll address those at the end of our presentation. But without further ado, let's begin. Skylar, where are we with Wi-Fi 7 now? What does the standard bring to the industry as a whole?
Thanks, Aaron. Before we dive into operations and management, let's take a moment to understand what makes Wi-Fi 7 such a leap forward. First, there's multi-link operations, or MLO. This allows a device to use multiple frequencies and bands and radios at the same time, enhancing reliability and throughput. Next is, and this is my personal favorite, preamble puncturing, which increases spectrum efficiency by allowing APs to use only clean portions of a frequency band instead of avoiding an entire channel due to interference. So in kind of layman's terms, this means that if there was interference on a portion of that band, instead of not being able to use the remaining portion of the band, Cisco now allows you to kind of push through and continue to use the full spectrum of the band. This makes it a lot easier to use ultra wideband and a few other technologies that we'll talk about in a moment. We also introduced 4K QAM, which stands for Quadrature Amplitude Modulation, quite a mouthful, which boosts peak data rates by increasing the number of bits transmitted per symbol, perfect for bandwidth-hungry applications like AR, VR, or UHD video streaming. On the security side, we've upgraded encryption standards with support for new ciphers, further improving confidentiality and integrity in high-density sensitive environments. We'll talk about this more in more detail a little later in the presentation. And finally, Cisco is integrating ultra-wideband, or UWB, technology in all of its solutions. This enables precise indoor positioning and fine-grained asset tracking, bringing new intelligence to an enterprise wireless network. It's a powerful mix of performance, flexibility, innovation, and we're excited to show you how it all comes together.
All right, so Mark, we'll jump to you next here. Cisco's taken the unified hardware concept even further now with the Wi-Fi 7 APs. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this is in a very exciting time. We really listen to partner feedback and try to simplify all aspects of the new Wi-Fi 7 portfolio, from operations to management. So, starting with the Wi-Fi 7, we finally introduced a unified AP model with a single SKU. If I had, applause, I would press the button right now, because I think that's been a long time coming, right? So just to simplify your experience all the way from ordering and finally deployment. So single SKU, doesn't matter where you deploy, it's a global use model. So you can deploy the same hardware, same AP in the States as well as in Europe. You no longer have to pick, the specific SKU for the region that you're in. So that's very, very, very exciting. So along with that, installation is now incredibly simple. We finally merged, the experience from an ordering perspective on, doesn't matter if you're on a Meraki platform or on-premise with a wireless LAN controller or a D&H center. So you pick the hardware. We have 3 models, very simple. You deploy, or you pick which deployment model you want to do, whether on-prem or with or Meraki in the cloud, and you are up and running in a matter of minutes. So it's very, very simple, and you can actually pick and choose anywhere in your deployment model. So if you're starting with the cloud and a couple months later you change your mind and let's say it's more cost effective to deploy on-prem, you can take that same AP and change your license out from a Meraki cloud license to an on-prem license with the WLC. So very exciting times. We hopefully very simplified the experience all across the board for you, and I think this is going to be very, very easy for you guys to finally order these new APs. So I'll continue to the next slide here, if that's okay, Aaron.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
please.
Awesome.
Give us some
Perfect.
examples here.
So let's give you guys some examples. So a couple different scenarios. So customer scenario one, his name is Miles. Let's look at Miles, right? Miles is a typical Meraki customer, and if you're a typical Meraki customer and you want to stay in the cloud, that experience pretty much stays the same. You're going to claim the AP using the cloud ID via the dashboard, and then the AP plugs in, connects, and joins to the network. Easy peasy. Customer scenario two, right? So let's look at Kat or Katerina. She is a current Catalyst customer on her wireless LAN controller. When she plugs in an AP, they'll check and make sure there's not a claim on Meraki side. And then if not, then the AP will begin the search for WLC, right? So upon finding one, they'll reboot into WLC mode, and then automatically using your existing, DHCP, DNS, your typical protocols, and it'll find the regulatory domain because of the new GPS module we have installed on these puppies, and then you're up and ready to go with on-prem WOCs or wireless LAN controllers and or Catalyst Center. And then finally, you have your third option or customer scenario three with Nicholas, right? So Nicholas, he begins his journey in Meraki mode. And he uses today, the cloud to manage his network. He loves it. But he's realizing his organization is changing. And he decides that he needs a little bit more granular control and granular visibility that the on-prem Catalyst Center brings you in our WOC. So he then uses the migrate to WLC wizard on the Meraki dashboard. And then that LP will regain, just like the second scenario, regain the country code, pull down the WLC config, and now he's an on-prem Catalyst customer with the same hardware. So pretty much you pick and choose. You pick the hardware, and you can say, hey, this is we're currently Meraki's the way to go, or I love the granular control and the visibility that D&H Center with the WLC gives me, and I'm happy either way to go. And then if you can change your mind down the road, there's no cost to that, right? So transition is very, very, very easy.
And so then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Aaron. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no problem. So there's been so much simplification. I remember the days where you had to pick and choose the model just based on the country it was going to be installed in. If you needed to change that, it was a re-imaging and certification process between, even the past, just recent unified hardware where you have to re-image the device. All of that is gone now. The device detects what the network is supposed to be and activates based on what you have set up. Transition to, Meraki from DNA or vice versa, again, simplified. So a lot of work done on the back end here to make that happen. Now, along with that, the easy purchasing and deployment, both of those come together for a frictionless experience. Let's hear a little bit more about the upcoming hardware, Mark.
Yeah, good transition there. So staying on this simple theme, we have three models, or I should say, two models with one model has two different flavors. So the 9178 and the 9176, right? So the 9176 comes in two different flavors. The 9176i, that's your omnidirectional internal antenna, has 12 spatial streams and built in with Bluetooth IoT radios. It also comes with UWB support, both the 9176 I and D. And then the 9176D is the model, same hardware, same kind of sensors, but also comes with a directional antenna. And this is kind of important because of the 6 spectrum regulatory compliance. You can't have directional antennas, or you can't have external antennas, I should say. So the way we get around that is having an internal directional antenna built in. So a lot of use cases for that, and we'll talk through that in a minute there. So, and then the third model is the 9178. This is, your directional antenna. This is the two 10 gig ports built in. This will give you your same IoT radios. It also comes with, I'm sorry, was there a question, Aaron? I'm sorry. Did I interrupt?
No, I think I clicked. Sorry about that.
Oh, perfect. So the big difference with the 9176 and the 9178 is it comes with two 10 gig ports, right? So you can, and those auto negotiate all the way from 10 gig to 2.5 to 1 gig. So you're good there. But definitely beefy. These are beefy APs, and definitely will handle your high density environments and then some, right? So plenty of use cases, which we'll talk about here shortly.
Yeah, and then we have on the lower end of things, the 9172 series. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, so this 9172 is a little bit smaller, so not as many radios built in. I believe it has three built-in radios on 4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and the 6 gigahertz spectrum, and multi-gig port. So that's 9172 is a little smaller as far as the radios, but still as powerful as ever before. So yeah, definitely good point. 9172. So I should say 4 different models with 2 different flavors.
Yeah, indeed. We got started with the beefy ones, got some simplified models to, help keep things in range if there's some, price sensitivity. And then now we have, let's dig into the antennas a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, a little bit more about the directional antenna use and omnidirectional.
Yeah, so the 9176D1, all right, so that has 12 spatial streams, 4x4 radios. What's cool about all these APs, they come with a what we call an XOR radio. It's a fancy term for a flexible radio. So you can assign that one radio to a just a monitor, or if you have maybe a lot of interference on one of the radios, like let's say 2.4, which is most likely the case, I can take one of those radios and just dedicate one radio to 2.4 and the other one to monitoring and such. So one thing I also didn't mention is all these come with the accelerometer. So accelerometer is kind of for AP placement along with the GPS, right? So along with UWB. So we kind of take all these technologies for automatic AP replacement and location tracking. So if I hang this AP up in let's say a warehouse, and it's a multi-AP environment, we used to do AP tracking by this technology called FTM, fine-tune management. So we're still using that, but with UWB ultra wideband, we can actually combine those technologies and get incredibly accurate AP placement, as long as with height, right? So we also do height and direction with accelerometers and GNS radio modules that are built in. So all this is really, at the end of the day, is to simplify the management of your wireless infrastructure by automating a lot of this AP placement in maps, because a lot of this troubleshooting can come down to where your AP is at, right? So you have an environment that has just a lot of interference. We can make sure it's placed in a location where that interference is completely obsolete. So it's really important to have some of these sensors really have the intelligence for a simplified kind of experience. So to get back onto the radios, or I'm sorry, to the antenna. So the 9176, 2 flavors, internal omnidirectional, and then the D1 comes with the directional antenna. And then the 9178, that's the omnidirectional antenna. And then the 9172, right, those are coming with 6 spatial streams. So a little smaller, and these are 2x2 radios. So across 3 radios on 3 bands. And then 2.2 on the 2.4 gigahertz and 4.4 in the 5 gigahertz. So just to give you, I hope I'm not getting too deep, Aaron, but what I want to give you is give our partners enough information here. But another thing that's different here in the 9172s are the ports, right? So the 9172i has a single 2.5 multi-gig port for your uplink. And then the 9172h, which I'm not sure if I spend a lot of time on, but the H is specifically for hospitality. And this is a single 2.5 gig gig uplink with, right, for specifically for hospitality, for your downlinks or flexibility and whatever you want to deployment model you want to do. It has 3 1 gig LAN ports and then 1 PoE out that is passed through. So if you want to power a a telephone or some maybe a IoT device or something that might matter. And then the 9172H is also a integrated omnidirectional antenna. So hopefully that's enough information, Aaron, and I hopefully didn't take too much others' time here.
No, I love it. And so that, the pass-through.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I think I didn't mention this as somewhat important. So, these APs use the same brackets. So, hopefully, if you're familiar with the older brackets, I think the bracket -1s and the -2s, you can use those for these APs as well. So, hopefully, that makes it a little easier.
Yeah, and that's actually a great feature of Cisco AP since the dawn of time, really. If you have an ancient 1600 AP still up on a wall somewhere, you can pull that down, put up a new Cisco AP, and it's going to work on the same bracket. It's pretty incredible that that's still possible. And you mentioned the pass-through Ethernet, incredibly handy for some use cases like schools, dorm rooms, stuff like that. And then my favorite feature, my nerd brain went off when I heard about the UWB feature coming out and some of the really specifics of the APs being able to find their exact location. It's hands with client handoff as it identifies where a client is moving. And then interference mitigation, of course, as Mark mentioned. A lot of exciting stuff going on behind the scenes. You plug it in, it works, and you forget about it, but I still love some of that geeky stuff in the middle that just makes it all work really well. Now, with this, Skylar, it sounds like the new hardware has, it's a lot more powerful overall. What are the requirements here? Does it require more power? What do we need to run these things?
Yeah, great question, Aaron. So, excuse me, to fully leverage Wi-Fi 7 capabilities, it's important to consider Ethernet port speeds and power delivery. With this, certainly Catalyst 9300, 9400 series switches support a wide range of multi-gig speeds, specifically 100 meg all the way up to 10 gigabit per second, and as well as UPoE. This, if you add these to the switches, it will ensure, I think we might have another, might want to go to the next slide.
Yes.
Sorry about that. It'll give you the flexibility to ensure your switches won't become a bottleneck, allowing you to fully utilize the performance of improvements of Wi-Fi 7 that we talked about at the beginning, like the preamble puncturing, MLO, where you can use multiple radios to communicate with a single endpoint to increase the throughput to it, and all sorts of other things as well that increase the essentially client density too. So these are all really important things to consider. Wi-Fi 7 APs like our 9176 that Mark was just talking about require potentially up to 60 watts of power for full functionality. This means that you'll need switches capable of UPoE or UPoE plus. Some of you with other switching providers might be familiar with it, being called PoE++. But essentially, it's 802.3 BT standard. It's crucial to remember UPoE goes beyond the 30 watts of power provided by the older standard, essentially 802.3 AAT, which could do up to 30 watts. Without sufficient power, APs may have to throttle performance or disable certain features. And if you're concerned with something like that, that is certainly something you can reach out to the engineering team at D&H, and we'd be happy to talk through with you in a little more detail. When deploying the Wi-Fi 7 APs, understanding the power requirements is critical. These new APs, as I mentioned, often require 60 watts more of power. So it's just really important to ensure that proper allocation helps avoid future degradation. Essentially, what it comes down to is if you're using these, such as the 9178 we were talking about earlier, or the 76, you connect it up to a UPoE switch. If it's just a PoE plus switch where you're getting only 30 watts of power, it will still function, but it will only do 2x2. So it will essentially be equivalent to using something like the 9172 that Mark was talking about. So while you might have this great flagship access point, unfortunately, if you don't have the juice to go to it, it just won't it won't be able to work up to its full capabilities. The other big consideration is essentially why it matters. And as you can see, the MS-130 is marked as 802.3bt compliant. And as you can see, even though it is compliant with that, it's still based on the power supplies on it is only able to provide 30 watts of power. So, it would certainly be able to power these devices up, but you wouldn't get the full horsepower that you'd want with these, even though you can see some of these switches here, like the MS-130 24X or the MS-130-48X are both multi-gig switches. So you'd be kind of getting the multi-gig part of it, but you'd still be running low on power. So let's take a look at some of the key differentiating factors when it comes to a multi-gig. Sorry if you don't want going to the next one, Aaron. This should demonstrate kind of a few things. It gives you a good idea. If you look on the left, you can see kind of the bar going up. That shows as it's going up, the more multi-gig ports or the ability for ports. Looks like my one title got duplicated, unfortunately. Sorry about that. And then if you go from left to right, it will show you the PoE power growing. And this is on the Cisco Catalyst side. You can see, I know a lot of people out there have some Catalyst 9200s out there. I talked to a lot of people. They're really solid switches, but they don't always necessarily meet the UPoE power need. Kind of the only one that really does in that series is actually the compact switch, the C9200CX. But they can still potentially do multi-gig. Those models up there are multi-gig switches. If you do have those deployed and don't really have it in your budget at the moment, what you'd be looking to do at this point would be to use one of the newer power injectors. We do have, Cisco offers multi-gig UPoE power injectors for these, and they get you all fixed up. And then as you kind of see, as we're growing in technology and growing up this series as we go, the bandwidth continues to surge essentially in the improvements in technology with the 9300 and 9300X as well as the 9400s. You're both gaining in port speed as well as the PoE budget or UPoE budget in this case. And then you see kind of at the far end of the spectrum, the C9300Xs and the C9400HXs. The best series does come with a few caveats where you would run into a few potential things with the 9400 where you'd have to use the specific supervisor or need to make sure that you have enough power supplies or that you have a secondary power supply there if you really want to max out the PoE budget on these. But they are really, really solid switches. So essentially, to paraphrase, pairing Wi-Fi 7 APs with these Cisco Catalyst multi-gigabit switches ensures your network remains scalable, powerful, and ready for the next generation to meet the connectivity demands. And it's, let's go ahead and go to the next one. And I'll actually go back one slide. I think I skipped ahead a little bit. Sorry about that. So we've discussed the needs and benefits of having more power and bandwidth with your wireless network. So let's take a look at some of these series, and I'll just talk a little bit more specifically about it. As I mentioned, the 9300, certainly has the horsepower. This would honestly be what we would deploy the most out there in terms of, you're looking for a Wi-Fi 7 network with the latest and greatest with a proper backbone to fully support it and fully support a very dense environment. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife with what it can do. It really has a lot of power and capabilities behind it. The 9400s, for those of you not familiar with Catalyst switching, are a chassis-based switch. So they use kind of line cards similar to a blade server where they are essentially inserted in. Those are certainly popular as well, and they can be a great way to add a lot of UPoE density and port speed density where you wouldn't necessarily be able to do it with the Catalyst 9300s with just stacking it. But they are both really great options. I do have the 9200s on there as well, and I kind of already alluded to it. They are great. They are solid switches, but just in terms of the capabilities, they do have a lesser ASIC. So, you will potentially be running into some stumbling blocks. What I typically recommend for a lot of people, especially if they're concerned with the cost of multi-gig switching, is the 9300 stack. You can have a mixed stack, which means that as long as you keep with all modular models, you can have them mixed. So you could have a couple gigabit PoE models there for just your regular desktops or everyday cameras or other needs, and then just have one or two UPoE multi-gig switches stacked on there, and it can be really effective. And they'd have essentially a 480 gigabit per second backbone between the stacking. So it's a really kind of solid way to kind of compromise and still, eat your cake, as they say. Let's go ahead and that's perfect, Aaron. And so, it's not just limited to the Catalyst side of switching or the Cisco side. Meraki also has a lot of options. I kind of already alluded to the MS-130s. While they are 802.3 BT compliant, they actually only provide 30 watts of power per port. So you just want to keep that in mind. And again, whereas the 9200s, which you also see on here, if you want to use those still, or if you have those in your environment, maybe all you need to do is just buy a PoE injector and you'll be okay with it. And you can keep your environment. This slide is kind of an announcement to some degree because the MS-150s did just come out. They are an awesome switch on the Meraki side. They are multi-gig. They have stacking. They have UPoE. They have just about everything you could want. They're really great for a Wi-Fi 7 deployment. They will be replacing the MS 220s and 225s, kind of in that realm of the market if you are familiar with Meraki. And then probably most of you are familiar with the Catalyst 9300 being on the Meraki side now. It's kind of a dual persona where it can either use the iOS XE and do the on-prem granularity part of it, or it can use the online OS, I believe it's called, or something along those lines from Meraki, where it's just cloud native and it works just like any other Meraki switch. The kind of probably surprising part is the 9200L-M on there. It is currently manageable. You can't purchase it with the Meraki persona natively, but you can absolutely, if you already have 9200s in your environment and you'd prefer to manage them maybe on the Meraki side, you can absolutely do that. There's a conversion process and they can be used in the cloud now. The roadmap for these, because they will be orderable separately from Meraki, is sometime summer 2025, but that is kind of a roadmap, and that is a little bit up in the air to change. But with the Meraki Cloud, you have lots of robust options for your wireless network, no matter how you prefer to manage it, essentially. So you got lots of options out there.
Yeah, indeed. And, exciting news about the MS-150, just a little bit higher end of the MS-130, and again, Meraki native. So, just another option within that line. If you know your client isn't going to stick on Meraki 100%, that's a good, or they are going to stick on Meraki 100%, that's a good option for them. Now, we've heard about the new gear and some of the design considerations. Skylar, has Cisco added anything to make wireless networking more secure or easier to manage? What do we have on that side of things?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. As we move into Wi-Fi 7, enhanced security features become more important than ever. Let's focus specifically on how Wi-Fi 7 strengthens security through WPA3, advanced key management, or AKM, and upgraded cipher suites. First, Wi-Fi 7 fully embraces WPA3, the latest wireless security standard. WPA3 significantly enhances protection by introducing robust safeguards against common vulnerabilities like dictionary attacks. It utilizes simultaneous authentication of equals, providing individualized data encryption even on open networks, dramatically improving user data protection. Next, let's talk about advanced key management, or AKM support. Wi-Fi 7 and Cisco's latest solution supports a broad range of AKM protocols, enabling secure, scalable, and simplified authentication mechanisms. This flexibility allows your network to securely accommodate various types of devices, whether they are corporate managed and owned endpoints, BYOD, or IoT devices. And then finally, we have enhanced cipher suites. Wi-Fi 7 improves encryption methods by leveraging stronger, more advanced ciphers like AES GCMP-256. These enhanced ciphers offer greater security than previous AES CCMP methods, reducing vulnerabilities and ensuring the integrity of and confidentiality of your sensitive data. Wow, that was a mouthful. In essence, Wi-Fi 7 implementation is about delivering both superior performance and next level security by combining WPA3, robust AKM protocols, and enhanced cipher suites. We're ensuring your wireless network remains secure, reliable, and prepared to handle the ever-evolving threats of the wireless landscape. So as Wi-Fi networks evolve, so do their security demands. Wi-Fi 7 introduces significant performance gains, but security remains paramount to the discussion. Let's break down a few security design considerations when it comes to WPA3 and some of the other technologies. So the first, and this is probably the most unlikely of the three, is the all-in. This would be kind of a greenfield deployment where you have full control over all the client devices, and you would essentially be rolling out all Wi-Fi 7 devices. It certainly would be the cleanest and simplest. You don't have to kind of add anything. It would just be your standard SSID WPA3 setup, but it breaks support for existing clients that don't support WPA3, and it runs into issues with essentially older clients. From there, we would look at multiple SSID. Sorry, next slide, Aaron. We would be looking at a multiple SSID deployment. This would essentially be the most flexible of the three options. It's very clean. You'd have to have multiple SSIDs based upon your client's needs. So if you have some older clients, they would have to connect to very specific SSIDs, and they'd be able to essentially roam between the bands, but it would be significantly more for you to manage, unfortunately, and there'd potentially be some interference between the SSIDs. Hopefully you would have a Catalyst Center or a similar device like that to help manage it, but it would be a little more kind of hands-on approach. And then finally, option 3, and this is kind of the most conservative, I'll call it, approach, is you'd essentially provide an adoption path to more secure Wi-Fi via WPA3 transition mode, which is an option on there. So it would support older WPA2 clients, and they'd still be able to use that protocol if they didn't support WPA3, but you wouldn't have to have any additional SSIDs. So it'd be a little cleaner, less interference, but you would have some potentially older clients that wouldn't be able to handle the WPA3 transition mode. They just wouldn't have the necessarily protocols or information to kind of knock it out. And then with the Meraki management mode, there are some limitations there. And if you are interested in something like that, I recommend reaching out to us at the D&H Cisco engineering team. So let's take a look at some of the cool stuff they've added in terms of actual security features. So features like integrated wireless intrusion detection system, or WIDS, and WIPS, or wireless intrusion protection systems, fast locate and interference detection offer real-time threat mitigation at the RF layer directly within the AP. This proactive approach significantly improves your network security posture by addressing threats before they impact your users. In short, Cisco's Wi-Fi 7 doesn't just improve speed, it delivers comprehensive, robust security strategies flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of your organization. Cisco is proud to introduce Clean Air Pro, building upon more than 15 years of industry-leading RF innovations. Clean Air Pro leverages Cisco's RF ASIC technology to deliver unparalleled wireless reliability and performance. This advanced chipset continuously monitors the RF environment, automatically identifying interference sources and mitigating them in real time, ensuring peak wireless performance. Features like integrated spectrum analysis and interference detection allow IT teams to proactively resolve issues before they impact end users. Clean Air Pro even enhances DFS channels by quickly identifying radar signals, allowing APs to safely utilize valuable spectrum without service interruptions. Just to quickly break and speak to this a little bit, having been in consulting before and in an MSP provider, I've been the victim of Clean Air Pro, or Clean Air before it was Clean Air Pro, back in 802.11ac. It is very effective. It can very quickly remove rogues or networks that shouldn't be rogues very effectively. So it is a very strong, very robust tool, but it is something that you need to be very careful about. And can you just advance one? I think there's a little bit more to this slide. Perfect. Unfortunately, it looks like it didn't copy perfectly. I'm sorry about that. That should say Clean Air Pro and then evolving Wi-Fi excellence into 6 gigahertz, just so everyone has that. But essentially, Clean Air Pro incorporates fast locate, providing precise location capabilities for device and interference sources. With the advanced tools, Cisco transforms complex RF troubleshooting into simplified, actionable insights, dramatically reducing downtime and boosting your user's connectivity experience. So you're saying, why do I care about this? If there's something interfering with your Wi-Fi network, this will be able to give you the granularity to be able to look at your portal and see exactly where it's going, especially if you've loaded a building diagram into either your Meraki portal or your Cisco wireless LAN controller in this case. And the heart of Cisco's Clean Air Pro is our custom RF ASIC, which is a system in a chip. So it's essentially a little processor that's on each of these APs that's dedicated to nothing but I'm just looking for stuff that's interfering or trying to mess with your network. So designed specifically for wireless networks operating at 2.5 and 5 gigahertz, this specialized chip was essentially designed to also help with the 6 gigahertz band with essentially the advent of 6E. The RF ASIC performs real-time continuous monitoring of wireless environments, effortlessly maintaining tasks like spectrum analysis, wireless intrusion detection, and packet capture without burning CPU resources. The dedicated hardware ensures ultra-fast detection and mitigation of wireless interference and threats. In short, Cisco's RF ASIC isn't just technology, it's the key to delivering wireless networks that are not only robust and reliable, but also effortlessly managed. So securing guest Wi-Fi access is critical, and Cisco wireless LAN controllers simplify and enhance this process by deploying guest SSIDs through the Cisco wireless LAN controller. You can enforce granular policies, and then this can even be more enhanced through the use of Cisco's Open DNS or Umbrella, if you're familiar with that. It's very easily integrated. All you have to do is set up some keys. I totally blanked out, API keys, and you're basically ready to go. And it's not limited to just the wireless LAN controller. This is also on the Meraki side. But when you integrate the two, you further enhance the security by enforcing safe browsing practices, protecting guests from malware or harmful sites automatically. It's seamless, secure, and ensures peace of mind for both your IT team and your guests. So it's one of the easiest things you can do. It's a simple add-on that can be added onto any wireless network, regardless of whether it's Cisco or Meraki. It gives you significantly more control over what and where people go on your network. And just to give a little color to it, whenever I deploy this as an MSP, typically we saw a huge downturn in the number of infections or security compromises that we would run into. So it went from being a much more reactive business to a much more proactive business, where we were actually able to kind of grow and add value to the customer rather than constantly just reacting to people getting viruses or going to phishing sites or all sorts of other stuff. So this can be a really great kind of add-on option to add a little more security to your network. And I highly recommend, if you have any interest in adding Umbrella to your network, reaching out to the D&H engineering team. Myself or Colleen would be our security engineer, the senior security engineer would be happy to talk to you about it.
And appreciate the real world example there. This definitely sounds like some incredibly secure wireless. Now, on the business intelligence and customer experience side of things, when it comes to Wi-Fi 7, what does Cisco offer there?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'd love to talk about that. Let's take a look and talk about Cisco Spaces. So many of you are probably asking, what is Cisco Spaces? It's a cloud-based location services platform designed to help organizations transform their physical space into intelligent, connected environments. Many of you, if you've been in Wi-Fi for a while, are probably familiar with the CX platform. There was a physical device way back when. A number of years ago, Cisco bought out essentially a cloud platform that did the same thing as their CX device, and they've really leveraged that and made it an entire cloud platform. It allows you to essentially leverage your data from all the wireless infrastructure that you have, and essentially throw it into Cisco Spaces via APIs. And Cisco Spaces then takes all that information and is able to provide you with some powerful insights about visitor behavior, occupancy patterns, and environmental conditions, enabling businesses to enhance safety, improve operational efficiency, and create personalized experiences. Easy to deploy and manage, Cisco Spaces seamlessly integrates with various Cisco products. We'll take a look at this, I think, on the very last slide. But it integrates with a ton of products, empowering organizations to maximize your network investment while shaping smarter, safer, and more responsive environments. So essentially, they've created what they call an OS, or operating system, for these smart spaces, and it's really designed to transform your connectivity infrastructure into just a environment that's full of all these sensors and pieces of information that are feeding back to you and giving you essentially real-time insights. And these are just a couple of the things you can do with it. There's just a ton of resources out there on the Cisco Spaces site where they've kind of created all these use cases for you. The cool thing is, if you're using Meraki, if you're using Cisco, if you're using Cisco too, even with the licensing and with the new changes with the licensing, you're getting a level of Cisco Spaces just with your DNA licensing or your Meraki licensing. It's either the C level, typically with Essentials, or the ACT level or Smart Venue on the Advantage or Advanced level on Meraki. It gives you a ton of really cool tools out there. You're already, technically paying for it. It's included in the price of all the stuff if you already have some infrastructure out there. If you're not sure how to unlock it or set it up, feel free to reach out to us. I'm really happy to talk about it. I've done it with our own lab environment, but I'm starting to ramble a bit. So in short, Cisco Spaces doesn't just manage connectivity. It unlocks a new level of business intelligence, safety, and operational efficiency. I feel like a broken record. I know I keep saying that. But this is just kind of the ecosystem that we're talking about. It really just goes beyond the basic connectivity. It impacts occupancy. You can have smart boards. You can start tying it into if you work with the Cisco Collab stuff at all, they absolutely tie directly into that. You can create smart boards, smart signage. You can see all these IoT devices. Cisco has a whole site of their IoT network of third-party sensors and other things that you can add to Cisco Spaces or your wireless network that have all been vetted and verified so that they'll work. There'll be no compatibility issues or anything at all. They're really trying to give you an experience that elevates the wireless experience in general, so that it not only is kind of a data network where it's just providing users the ability to access information, but it's actually giving you a way as an IT person or as a consultant working with an IT person to reach into other buckets such as marketing or buildings and ground or so many other types of things, just standard operations, just really able to kind of get out there and find more ways in this day and age where kind of budgets are getting cut and belts are getting tightened, where you can kind of find ways to wiggle a couple extra dollars out and get something pretty cool for your customers.
All right. Thank you so much, Skylar. We're going to move into some Q&A here in just a moment. Definitely, if you have any questions about anything we've presented, go ahead and drop that in the Q&A now, and we'll go through your questions and answer those live here while we have our two engineer brains on with us. But we've covered a lot today. There's a lot of good technology, a lot of good work done in the software, the administration of the devices, and how these devices interoperate with other parts of the system. So We're hitting collab, we're hitting Wi-Fi, we're hitting Meraki cameras potentially, and you can bring all those together between the API functionality and some of the stuff that Cisco's put in. So a lot of good stuff. We could easily do a webinar on just about every topic we covered here, just because the depth is it's really there. So with that, let's jump into the Q&A real quick. We'll go through those and then we'll wrap up and send everybody on their way. But first up, let's see. So good question here. Can the C9178i be used in a remote area, i.e. up in the mountains? What do you think about that, Skylar?
So it is an indoor AP, so as long as it is indoors or has an enclosure that could handle that, it certainly could. You potentially want some other pieces of infrastructure there, but it will have the 9178i is certainly very robust, so it's going to have a pretty big broadcast footprint. You just want to make sure that it has an enclosure or something like that where it's really protected from kind of the elements.
Okay, that sounds good. Mark, on your side, what happens if you use an AP with less power than it requires? What do we see there?
Hey, Aaron, great question. It is a good question. I might have to look up the specifics, but I believe you lose some features, especially around the sensors, like the USB turns off. Skylar, do you know specifically? I might have to look that one up a little bit.
You're definitely right. The USB will turn off, so there wouldn't be potentially local storage on it, and then it will go from 4x4 to 2x2, and I think it'll turn off the 6 gigahertz band. So it'll turn off a couple different things.
All right, and another good question here. We've talked about a couple different sets of APs that are Wi-Fi 7 now, or everything we've discussed today, is that currently available on the market?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll let you take that one, Mark.
No, go ahead. That's a simple answer, pretty straightforward. I think everything we talked about, even the Cisco spaces, the new licensing, unified licensing, the new support, I think it's all pretty much live and active.
All right. Yeah. And Mark, I've known you a long time. We've known the APs for a long time. This is a good question for us that have been around, and Skylar has too. But what sets these apart from the prior generations of APs?
Oh man, I'm trying to think how I answer that, like a SE or like a salesperson. If I was a salesperson, it would just be blazingly faster than anything else you've seen. I think that's a very simple way to do it. The security features that Skylar talked about with WPA3, PoE, multi-gig. I mean, there's so much to it. I think, if you had a 2-bullet thing, security and speed is probably what I would go with.
Okay. Sounds good. And Skylar, what say you? Are they faster than the prior generation?
Yeah, I think especially, I think that 4K QAM, or the quadrature amplitude modulation, I think it is, certainly is one of the protocols that really makes it significantly faster. I think it works out to be about 20% in terms of latency and speed and throughput over 6, and I think it's like 15 or 10% over 6E. So certainly absolutely faster, but more density too. You can't forget about that either.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the combination of QAM and multi-gig Ethernet on the back end, they're just a lot of extra speed and density potentially there. We have a 2-part question. The person asking this one looks like he had a little trouble getting some APs through D&H. We'll touch base with you. They're definitely available, so we'll touch base with you, get you going there. And then the other question, Skylar, I'll have you answer this part of it. This subscription license looks quite complicated. Is there training material available or guides? What do we have as resource material there?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a few things out there, and if you have questions about it, I'd reach out to the team that Aaron and I are on, the Cisco engineering team at D&H.com. But specifically, there are some resources out there. If you have CCAO-ID, I think it's called, on Sales Connect, there are a couple, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I think we have a few minutes of time since we don't have that many more questions. The new subscriptions are a lot different. They are required for the Wi-Fi 7 APs on the Cisco side. There's some caveats on the Meraki side. The big difference is they're essentially making the Cisco licensing a lot more like the Meraki license. And what I mean by that is the new license is kind of a unified license that comes with support. It essentially has, the AP adder license that you're used to. You'll be able to call Cisco tax support just through the license. And there are a few different options. It will kind of be the way forward. On the Meraki side, this will actually be how you purchase the Meraki subscription going forward, under the Cisco network subscription, it's called. It is a little weird the first couple of times you go through it, but certainly if you do have an interest in ordering those, we can definitely walk you through the processes. But the big thing is it essentially now includes tax support as well as the AP adder license. So if you do run into issues or need new firmware or anything like that, it's all included in the base licensing rather than having essentially support entitlement through SmartNet as well as the DNA license or AP adder license, depending on which wireless LAN controller that you're purchasing. There are a few ordering guides out there as well, but I'll say at this point in time, they're not as strenuous or robust as you might want when you're reading through them. So your best bet, if you really do have a lot of questions about it, would be to reach out to your salesperson at D&H or reach out to the Cisco team directly. And we're happy to schedule a call and talk to you a little bit about it and go through it and see if it makes sense for your environment at this time or, how it works out.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll add to that just a little bit. If you want to dig around on your own, Sales Connect at Cisco.com has a wealth of information over all sorts of stuff for partners, including the order guides that Skylar mentioned. But we can help you find those too, so reach out to us. We'll get you some links. We'll provide some of the details between the lines. And upcoming in June is Cisco Live. Certainly the new licensing model is top of mind for Cisco, and I expect to see several sessions that will cover licensing features both on the Cisco and Meraki side. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That's free online. You can go certainly in person. It's a good time. I recommend it. But then there's also the live sessions that you can watch, and licensing will absolutely be a part of that. But with that, yeah, we kind of covered, someone asked what the APs, licensing the APs use. Again, the subscription licensing is the where things are going at this point. Meraki still has co-term available, but a lot there. So we've covered the questions. I'm very excited by that. We've given you a lot of good information on the new APs, and we're here for you when you have questions down the line. It's hard to catch all this at once, and our teams at D&H can help you out. Just a quick overview of some stuff coming up. We have some upcoming trainings. The Canada Solutions Lab from our friends up in Canada, that Cisco team is doing a collab presentation on April 22nd. You can get signed up for that if you'd like. Internally, on the US side, we have a Wi-Fi positioning training coming up on April 17th. We actually dive in everything from the small business line up through Meraki and onto Cisco in that training. So if you really want a wide perspective of what's available there, we can look at that for you. And on May 19th and 20th, we have the Meraki 360 training, which again, we host in-house. That can get you your certification for CMNA. So we kind of walk you through everything you need to know there, get you set up on the test, and you can get a certification for you or anyone else that's available. I did see a couple questions coming through. We'll touch base with you shortly after the session and follow up on those. But Skylar, Mark, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate having you both. And with that,
yeah, thank you, Aaron.
Sure thing. So with that, we'll let everybody go. And thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you from D&H and Cisco.